People was calling my phone talking about, Diddy didn't do it, Diddy didn't do it, and hang up. Then I had Unique Mecca Audio call me talking about, no, Rico must go. I was like, man, these motherfuckers crazy. And you got people out of here celebrating, man. They are celebrating, but he's still going to jail. They celebrating for a psychotic narcissist, a sociopath sex offender, abusing and degrading women, beating on them, brother, and having them appease him and his homosexual tendencies by letting random men, male prostitutes, brother, ejaculate their sexual juices on them so he can lick them off. Is this what's happening in the hood now? Is that what's good in the hood?
How can you celebrate? That's the question echoing in the wake of the Sean Diddy Combs verdict. And nobody is asking it louder than his former head of security, Gene Deal. While Diddy's family and lawyers celebrated in the courthouse, claiming a great victory, a very different reality was setting in for survivors and their advocates. A reality where a partial victory for a powerful man feels like a total loss for justice. On July 2, 2025, the jury acquitted Combs of the most serious charges he faced, racketeering and sex trafficking. Those were the charges that could have locked him up for life. But let's be perfectly clear, Sean Combs was not found innocent. He was convicted on 2 federal felony counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, one involving his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another involving a second woman. Yet, in the public square, the story immediately became about the charges he beat, not the crimes he was convicted of. Gene Deal, a man who says he watched it all unfold for years, argues this celebration isn't just wrong, it's a dangerous and chilling betrayal of every person who has ever suffered in silence. This isn't just about a verdict. It's about what we, as a culture, decide to look at and what we choose to look away from. To get why people are so outraged, you have to look at the facts of the verdict itself. For weeks, the world watched as harrowing testimony painted a dark picture of life inside Diddy's empire. When the jury came back, it was a complex split decision. Not guilty on racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 serious counts of transporting women for prostitution. And make no mistake, these aren't just slaps on the wrist. Each conviction carries up to 10 years in prison. Prosecutors are already pushing for a sentence of around 4 to 5 years, but the final call is up to Judge Arun Subramanian. The judge has already sent a powerful message of his own. He denied Diddy's request for bail and ordered him to remain in custody, citing Combs' years-long pattern of violence and disregard for the rule of law. The judge stated plainly that Combs couldn't prove he wasn't a danger to the community. So while one side was popping champagne over a legal win, the judge was locking the defendant up because he deemed him a public danger. This is the disconnect. Diddy's lawyers called it a vindication, telling the press the jury found he has not sexually assaulted anybody, certainly hasn't sex trafficked anybody. But Cassie Ventura's attorney, Douglas Wigdor, saw it very differently. He said that even though the jury didn't convict on sex trafficking, Cassie paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. He praised her unquestionable strength in forcing people to pay attention to misconduct that's gone on for decades. The verdict wasn't an exoneration, it was a conviction. And for the survivors, it was a start. This is where Gene Deal's perspective cuts so deep. For years on shows like The Art of Dialogue, Deal has been sharing stories about what he says he witnessed. To him, this isn't just some legal drama as a confirmation of a reality he knew all along. His reaction to the courthouse celebration wasn't just disappointment, it was pure, unfiltered anger. He sees the public obsession with the acquittals as a deliberate choice to ignore the very real crimes Diddy was found guilty of. Gene has talked about this new Diddy that was revealed in court, a person whose behavior was shocking even to those who thought they knew him. He referenced testimony about things he couldn't even recognize, saying, "This Diddy is not the Puff that we knew, or he was hiding something that we didn't even know." He argues that celebrating the fact that Diddy dodged a life sentence is a massive insult to the women who were just proven to be victims in a federal courtroom. It shrinks their trauma and reframes the whole story into one of a celebrity beating the odds, not a predator being held accountable. Deal watched Diddy's family and supporters project an image of solidarity in court, and he questions the message that sends. His whole point is that the public is being sold a lie. People are out there cheering for a man who is now, according to a jury, a convicted felon. That celebration in his eyes is a slap in the face not just to Cassie Ventura, but to every survivor who's ever been made to feel like their pain is less important than a famous man's career. It's a message that says, sure, he did something, but it wasn't that bad. And for Gene Deal, that's an unforgivable betrayal. Gene Deal's anger taps into a much bigger and much more painful conversation. For survivor advocates, the verdict and the reaction have been called a huge setback and a travesty. This case was never just about one man. It was a test of whether our justice system could actually hold the powerful accountable. The acquittal on the biggest charges, no matter the other convictions, sends a chilling message. It's almost impossible to get a conviction against a rich and famous man for these kinds of crimes. Advocacy groups say the case shines a light on a broken system. The trial forced women to recount horrific, life-altering trauma under a microscope, a burden Diddy himself avoided by choosing not to testify. As one advocacy group, World Without Exploitation, put it, the verdict shows a deep misunderstanding of what sex trafficking is and the complexity of coercion. The celebration is what makes it so much worse. It creates a toxic atmosphere where survivors feel like their own experiences are being invalidated in public. Aubrey O'Day, a former artist under Diddy, said she was physically ill watching the reaction, saying, "Cassie probably feels so horrible, I'm gonna vomit." This kind of public joy for the accused is incredibly re-traumatizing. It tells other survivors to stay quiet, feeding a culture of silence where victims feel helpless and predators feel untouchable. The message rings loud and clear. Even with testimony, even with a federal conviction, the narrative can still be twisted to protect the powerful. This case has forced us to look at some ugly truths about fame, power, and justice. We've seen the legal outcome, and we've heard the emotional fallout. Now, the conversation belongs to us. What do you think this verdict says to survivors of abuse? Do you side with Gene Deal that celebrating these acquittals is a betrayal? It's time to have a real discussion about what this all means. In the end, this whole saga is a tale of two realities. There's the reality inside the courtroom, where Sean Combs was convicted of federal felonies and sits in a cell because a judge declared him a danger to the community. Then there's the reality outside, where Spin and Celebration are trying to rewrite the story. Gene Deal's outrage is a raw plea to focus on that second reality. He's arguing that what happens now, how we remember this, who we center in the conversation, the victims or the victor, will define what this case was really about. This moment isn't just about Diddy's future. It's about whether an industry and a culture that has protected powerful men for far too long will ever truly be held accountable. The celebration, as Gene Deal sees it, isn't just a party, it's a statement about who we as a society choose to believe, who we protect, and whose pain we're willing to ignore. For survivors everywhere, that's the most devastating verdict of all.